Maybe it's the same. It's like the same input that, or like a vibe that drove Justin Timberlake to be on SNL for a little while. It's like, he's great in one lane. He's like, but I got to get my yucks, man. So, yeah.
It's like, I'm so tired of doing all this serious pulling other people's titties out. I want to be funny.
Yes. That was the same era, wasn't it? That was like Super Bowl, nip slipping, SNL, and JT.
I do like to believe that he pulled Janet Jackson's titty out and everybody got so upset. He was like, I don't know, that shit was pretty funny. I want to explore this. I want to see what else I can do that makes people laugh. Yep. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another phenomenal episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the pockets of Black conspiracy theories, and we finally work to prove that if we're finally going to defeat Jake Paul, then we're going to need to call on Jason Derulo. That's right. Stop looking to former athletes and trained fighters. They don't have the same hatred in their heart as a grown man who survived off of pretending to be a kitty cat on TikTok. We need the Derulo effect if we're going to overthrow Jake Paul's tyranny. These are facts, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just coming at you with cold, hard facts at this point. My name is Langston Kerman. You know me. I'm your host of this nonsense podcast. And what a bit of nonsense have we gathered here today, ladies and gentlemen. What a handful of sillies and horror, I think, that we're going to unpack today. And my guest today, he's hilarious. He's a very talented comedian, performer. You know him from his work on AP Bio. He was a writer on AP Bio. He has also been on The Good Place, performed on The Good Place. Very funny. Please give it up for my guest, Mr. Zeke Nicholson.
Yo.
Hell yeah.
That's cool. That's nice. That it's like
it feels
digital, good. A digital warm welcome. I'm loving it.
Yeah, no, I sourced that, baby. I went to a bunch of individuals and said, woo for me.
Hell yeah. My uncle is an audio engineer, and that's literally his job. Is like he goes to outside and is like, hey, that guy stirring mayonnaise. Can I record that so I can put in a commercial later? That's truly his job. So I appreciate you.
Hell yeah. Good for him that he has a job that I think deserves to be treated like a very creepy thing, but then also then becomes super helpful to everything in Hollywood.
That's it. You need it.
Somebody's got to get that stirring mayonnaise down, and you got to be a hero to walk up to another human being and be like, hey, you stirring mayonnaise? Let me put a microphone next to that.
For sure. Well, thank you for having me.
I'm excited you're here. You came to us with a conspiracy theory that I wouldn't necessarily immediately associate with the Black community, but that said, is not necessarily not Black. Like, it feels like some shit that somebody's Black ass family member would have suggested, and everybody was like, yeah, I could see it. Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
But you said, my mama told me.
Aliens were involved in the disappearance of the Malaysian Airlines Flight.
That's right. Yeah. And to be perfectly accurate, it's not so much my mama told me, but rather my wild ass cousin Michael told me.
Oh, man.
That, yes, MH370, as it's known in the community, was taken by aliens in what I guess is just a ripoff of the Bermuda Triangle. That's not even a new point of view on airplanes disappearing,
Right. Because that was essentially the whole, and break this down for me, because I think I always understood the Bermuda Triangle as more of a devil's land kind of vibes, where planes were disappearing because God couldn't cross that area. Your understanding is that it's more like alien associated.
Yes, I remember very clearly being in sixth grade and hearing about the Bermuda Triangle, and for the first time understanding that it was like maybe a portal to outer space, and that Amelia Earhart had been like flown to another planet essentially.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. I had heard portal, but I heard to hell is what that triangle was.
That is way darker, and probably to be fair, I grew up in a very white place in upstate New York with a lot of white people, so maybe that was the white version of that. White people aliens, black people hell. When it comes to the Bermuda Triangle. Yeah.
Well, we all got portals. Our portals are just different. White people's portals be like this, but black people's portals be like this. Yeah, we get it.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so my cousin Michael, I remember we were like, they live in Arizona, and most of my black family lives in Arizona, and I had like gone out to a couple family reunions out there. And this one time we were at this reunion, and he was telling me like, yo, he's like this kind of like heavy set, like really like, he's one of those dudes whose eyes don't open all the way ever. It's like, maybe because he's always drunk and high, but also I feel like even when he wakes up in the morning, it's like he's like peeking through half slits.
Yeah. If you smoke and drink enough, it becomes who you are, right? Your body adjusts. It turns into the person that you've always wanted to be.
Yes, totally. I remember the first time I met Michael, I was actually an adult, and he was like, hey, man, I remember I didn't see you since you was a baby. What's up, man? He's like, and that's very much his vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, one time he had told me, he was like, yo, they don't say this on the news, but Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 was abducted by aliens. And he's like, they want to tell you. I remember this very specifically. He kept like trying to use the word obliterated, but instead he would say obliverated.
Oh no, Michael!
It was like, man, the flight, they tried to tell me that the flight got obliterated. No, it was abducted by aliens. I swear. And he just went on and on about how MH370 had not been obliterated. It had been abducted.
It's like, Michael, they didn't say it got obliterated. I assure you that's not what they're trying to tell you. And if you listened more carefully,
that's right.
We'd solve this problem. That's so fascinating. So I guess this covers a couple things, because Michael tells you this, and he's saying that it got obliterated. And I don't know that I've heard that either, right? That like, I think that for the longest, it was just like it crashed. We don't know where it crashed. And we're just looking for any evidence of where it actually happened. But he's saying like, nah, that shit got turned to fucking dust.
I guess so. It was like, because I do remember there was some discussion, like, had it been shot out of the sky? Yes. Like, was this a military thing? And so I guess he was running contrary to like, he was like, I'm not going to take the main conspiracy theory. I'm going to take the like even crazier conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Because even that, it's like, yes, it seems probably like it was some sort of accident and that it went down in an uncharted pocket of the ocean.
Yes.
But yeah, he was like, no. It wasn't the Russians. It wasn't the US government trying to cover some shit up. It was aliens that abducted the plane.
Right.
He, side note, probably loves Manifest on NBC. I'm sure that is like right up his alley.
I love that as just a side note. Side note, this guy loves Manifest. So I don't know what that means to you and your listeners, but just take that and run with it.
That's right. And not to throw too much at the kitchen sink, but I feel like it's relevant to the story also.
Yeah.
This was like a twofold conspiracy theory. One part of it was that the MH370 had been abducted by aliens, but somehow it was also coupled with the fact that mermaids were living under Greenland.
Okay, wait a goddamn second.
Yeah.
Zeke, listen, I was here with you. I knew where we were going in this conversation, and then this additional thing got added, and it sort of is, you really put some syrup on my spaghetti, and I'm trying to understand the connection here, but help me out.
I honestly don't think it's like there's any real content connection, but I did a little bit of research after this conversation, because I was like, what the fuck was this about? And it turned out that Animal Planet had aired a fake documentary about mer people living in the Greenland Sea. So I think that Michael had just seen this and assumed it was like a genuine news report.
Oh.
Or maybe it was like on YouTube or something. But yeah, he he inputted this information as being genuine. And in
That's
his mind, it was like all connected to the MH370, the Mer people under Greenland. It's like everyone's lying to you. You know, shit's going down that people don't want to talk about.
That's so interesting to me because I do think, and I've never seen this documentary nor heard of it, and maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't, but I do think that in terms of it being a Discovery Channel documentary, but I will say that is the danger of these sort of like reputable spaces suddenly doing non-reputable things, right? Like we see it all the time where like CNN will have like their sort of like not newsy guy come and do an expose on his opinion about a thing. And then suddenly it opens a space for a bunch of dumb people to treat, not to say your cousin's dumb. He seems like a very bright young man. A strong future in front of Michael, I think.
He's definitely 45.
Well, he had a bright future and now he's living it, you know? But that said, I think it leaves a space for someone like Michael to be like, yo, if that is true, what else is true?
Yeah. Which is a good perspective when it comes to comedy, right?
Yeah.
He's got it. He's got it down.
Oh, the man sounds like he can improv with the best of.
He's great at improv. Yeah. But yeah, it is that. And I think it's also those reputable news pieces like dipping into comedy, frankly. Like they're trying to be like, look at this winky funny thing we're doing, and they don't see the damage that they're creating.
Yeah, you know? Fuck you, Wolf Blitzer. You don't get to try to make me laugh, you piece of shit. Just give me the news.
Stick to your lane, man.
It's weird. Cuomo used to do that shit back before we knew that I think we knew, but before we officially knew that he was not great guy. But like the point is like you don't get to try to be a silly Billy, man. Like because you're going to undermine silly Billy behavior on the back end. So make your choice. Either you're a silly Billy or you're a serious person in media, and we can't keep playing both sides of these things.
Right.
So Michael tells you this, that MH370 was abducted by aliens. What is your response? Because this is a man who it sounds like you didn't have like a super tight relationship with, but you see occasionally. Do you walk with him down this trail, or are you like, I check off here, my man?
I think like I'm like this with a number of my family members who have very strong points of view. I will never be like, no, and sort of divert away. I will just sort of like walk alongside them as they monologue at me. Sure. My father is very much this way too. It's like, I don't know if your Black family is like this, that it's like, there's a certain level of like dialogue is not always the most important. It's more like, yo, I got this point of view. Like, let me share it with you. And then somebody else being like, yes, I also have a second and unrelated point of view. And then it's a lot of people just sort of like sharing their opinions. And so, yeah, when he was telling me this, it was a lot of like nodding and being like,
okay,
and then, yeah, just sort of taking it in and being like, I don't know where any of this is coming from, but I'm with you, man. Sure.
Which, to your credit, I think is number one, very noble to to allow him the space to express himself fully. But the other part of it, I at least personally find is that it's a lot easier and maybe healthier to join people in their walk than it is to like try to obstruct the walk that they're on. That like, at the end of the day, whether you agree with him or not, you going and trying to refute it is not going to heal him. He's made his choice.
Totally. I'm not there to change his mind.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and I don't think there's anything that I could have said that was really going to like, he was clearly gleaning some joy from this whole experience. And I wasn't trying to take that away from him for somebody that I don't see that often, you know?
Yeah.
I want him to believe in magic, you know? He deserves that.
I want this 45-year-old man to have all the whimsy he wants in his world.
Yeah, he deserves that.
Let me ask you this, because I think this sort of connects to what we were just saying about allowing Michael to have his magic. I wonder if you feel like there's any danger in Michael's beliefs in the thing in this MH370 alien abduction. Is this a thing that we should be concerned about and need to correct, or is that kind of just a nice, sweet conspiracy theory? You kiss them on the forehead and you go about your business kind of vibe?
Yeah. I guess there's two ways to look at it. Like, I think treat it as an isolated thing. I think it's pretty light and fun and funny. And like, I don't think there's a ton of danger coming from that. But I think it relates back to what we were saying before. It's like genuinely confusing to certain people when Animal Planet, a place that you go for nature documentaries, is just as a joke airing fake shit. And then people are like, wait, so this must be real. And like, not everyone is as discerning about the media as we are.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay, wake up, man. So, yeah, and I think it's like, frankly, I do think it ties into so much of like what is happening with people getting like radicalized on YouTube. Like, I think this is a really light version of that. So the answer is both yes and no, I think, to that question.
That's fair. It's fascinating, right? Because a part of me almost wonders if Animal Planet was sitting there making this documentary and like, ain't nobody watching this shit. This is going to be some 3 a.m. Our numbers are super low. The people that are on it are probably high and indifferent, and it just is background noise. And then there's one or two people that take it seriously enough that suddenly we're in a different conversation.
Yeah. Well, this is an incredible tidbit to that point. The two highest rated things ever on Animal Planet were Mermaid Documentary Part 1 and Mermaid Documentary Part 2.
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God, I just read it in the LA Times.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
what does that
these
say about our
people
society?
Are thinking we're making nonsense for nonsense people who like Animal Planet but don't want to pay attention, and instead they made fucking gold for their channel.
Yeah. It was a huge hit for them.
God damn it. So now, and then that's what makes it scary, right? Because now they probably feel an obligation to match the success of mermaid documentaries 1 and 2.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And I do think that they've continued to be like, oh, Yeti, like, whatever, like all these, paranormal activity things. Like,
yeah, no fucking way do you air Mermaid 1 and Mermaid 2. It's that big of a hit, and then you go back to Do Elephants Feel?
Right. Yeah. We've been known that elephants feel, okay? It's time to get to the real shit.
Can sloths communicate? Let's find out in an hour expose. Fuck out of here. We're about to talk about a goddamn Loch Ness monster for the next 8 hours.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think like, I don't know, what's your view on the whole YouTube rabbit hole, changing people's beliefs and the algorithm sort of like shoving you into a point of view that maybe was not yours to begin with?
Yeah. I mean, I read, I didn't read. I don't read.
Come on.
I listened to this documentary that was like a connected podcasty documentary thing connected to the Daily called The Rabbit Hole.
Oh, I did as well.
Did you listen to that? It explores like that one dude's journey from going from like a hyper liberal kid to then becoming essentially a like super conservative, basically a white supremacist.
Yeah.
And then once again finding his way back to being like super liberal and anti sort of like all the things that are Trumpisms. But all of it was based on the algorithm that the internet was feeding him. Yeah. And that to me is terrifying, because if there's a part of me that wants to believe I'm so much better than a person like that, right? That I'm not going to be a person that falls into that sort of pocket or into that dangerous space. But then I think like there's so much of my daily feed that probably is just people repeating back things that I want to hear or that would affirm my beliefs. And so it's terrifying. It scares the shit out of me. I guess it's the best answer I could give you.
Yeah. I find it all incredibly interesting. And of course I'm not immune to it by any means, but like, I just think it's such just that we are like living through an age in which like people's brains are just changing rapidly due to a technology that we don't have control over. And that's not even, it sounds like a crazy conspiracy theory when you say it like that, but it just is the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and even scarier, we're not going to get control over this shit.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like maybe it's in theory, the humanity survives whatever horrible shit we're doing to ourselves right now, and we make it generations from now. Maybe they will be able to handle whatever this is. But no one in our lifetime is about to just suddenly like break open from whatever like seal we're trapped in and be, you know, more insightful about all of this stuff. We're just all going to keep falling into the same traps.
That's it. Yeah. It's also crazy how many people that like run the alt-right also went through that exact same like cycle where they were sort of like kind of like, I voted for Obama, and then I like realized that when I posted like kind of crazy shit on the internet, it got like way more likes and engagement, and then they kept going further and further, and now they're like, it's
Candace Owens was a girl in like her like undergrad and sort of like younger days, spending her time like representing like her Black student union and shit. And then at some point she figured out that being a hateful bigot was more profitable. And part of that was her getting all that. She had some lawsuit with her university that she lost or had challenges with. Felt like there was nobody supporting her and everybody was calling her stupid. So she was like, well, these motherfuckers don't call me stupid. They support me. So here I am. Now I'm a hyper conservative. And it's not because she believes it, or at least at the time believed it. It was just profit.
Yeah. So if we see Michael at the next January 6th rally, we know what happened.
Here's the thing. I do think, at least based on what you're describing, Michael's not going there because...
No. That's a lot of effort for him.
Yeah. Well, if he is going, he feels like a real sideline character to me. You know what I mean? True. Like there were all those people at the January 6th shit who were like there for a different reason, and then stuff started getting buggy and they were like, I'm not running the stairs. I came to talk about the mermaids. Release the mermaids, Joe Biden.
He's definitely not the one climbing the railing. He's the one being like, man, it should look kind of rickety to me. I don't know.
Nah, see, they want you to climb the railings because that's how they kill you, brother. Stay down here with me. Let's get a sandwich. Okay, let me ask you this last question before we go to break, because I do think this is going to be an important one for laying some of the groundwork. We've talked about sort of like the absurdity of conspiracy theory, but I haven't asked you how much you actually believe in aliens. Like, where are you at in the alien of it all?
Yeah, I'm in on aliens. Like not in a like immediate or present, not even danger, but just like force. Like, I don't think I would be surprised if there was an alien contact in my lifetime, but I do believe that it just is scientifically improbable given the scope of the universe that other sentient life does not exist.
Sure. So for you, they are not they're not hanging out here and abducting airlines, but they certainly exist out in the universe.
I think that's right. Yeah. That's where I come down on that.
Well, Michael is not going to forgive
He's not. He doesn't like that. No. It's a much less whimsical point of view.
So, you're like, yeah, I guess it exists. And he's like, no, motherfucker, wake up.
Wake up. They're under Greenland with the mermaid.
They're plotting our next Malaysian abduction.
So okay. Like, to what end? Sorry, just last thing.
No,
like,
please.
What do the aliens even want the plane for? Like, that's the follow-up question that these people
It's a wonderful question, and I truly don't know, and I don't think anything that I've read has answered that question, but I do think that is what keeps people going, because if they had a definitive answer, they would be able to say like, oh, okay, well, that's silly, or no, that's not correct. Whereas if they just go, we don't even know what the fuck they want it for. It's oh.
It keeps the mystery alive.
Puff fast, baby. Keep that shit going.
Hell yeah.
All right, cool. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Zeke Nicholson and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back. Yeah, we're back
Man.
here with more Zeke Nicholson, more
That
My
was
Mama
tight.
Told Me. We're still talking about the possibility that Malaysian Airlines 370 was not shot down, was not lost, was not obliterated from the sky, obliterated, excuse me, from
Thank
the
you.
sky, but was in fact abducted by aliens. Is Michael the type of person who is learned enough in this space that he has like an alien source? You know what I mean? Is he like, yo, these aliens from this planet have been known to do blah, 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 or this type of thing is happened in these places? Or is he just like aliens blanket statement, enjoy your corn on the cob?
Yeah, I feel like it's more the latter. Like he's not, it doesn't feel like there's like a focused, nuanced sort of like deep dive on the conspiracy. It's a bit of like a catch-all, which is why I think we got aliens and mer people like in the same 4 sentences. Like I think it's just here's all the shit you don't know.
Right. It also sounds like he was really excited to see you. He was like, yo, Zeke, here's everything I learned.
I'm trying to remember, like, what was it that I was doing or saying that, like, was setting him up to share this with me? And I can't remember. So probably nothing. He's just like, yo, here it is.
You're like, yeah, we start our writer's room next week. He's like, dog, writer's room? Have I got information for you?
That's it.
Okay, let's jump into some of this research because I do think that a fair amount of this is at least worth exploring in terms of Michael's theory and whether or not maybe this will help shift you closer to where Michael has landed. So let's start with the basics, right? March 8th, 2014, 12:42 a.m. Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 takes off from Kuala. Is that how you say that? I don't know.
Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, Kuala Lumpur. Oh, a traveled man. I love that. Okay. Towards Beijing. They're going from Malaysia to China. It makes it to its cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. They check in with the various sort of air traffic people that they need to check in with multiple times. And then 39 minutes, into the flight, it disappears off of the radar and was never heard from again. So analysis from their more advanced radar systems says that flight continued to fly around for another 7 hours. That they have documentation of it actually continuing to be in the air for another 7 hours, but they don't, I guess, because of whatever. I'm not a well-versed enough airline traffic person to understand, but they basically could know that it's in the air based off the information they were getting, but they couldn't precisely locate it while it was in the air for that 7 hours. I'm curious to know if you think during that 7 hours, or given the fact that it was 7 hours remaining in the air, if that would somehow sway Michael in either direction.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, I don't. That's an interesting tidbit. I actually hadn't read that. I had heard the thing that it was on, because there's 2 radars. One, right, one in Kuala Lumpur, and then it was flying to Beijing. And I guess there's a certain point at which the radar tracking gets handed off to the destination airport.
Yeah, so actually before they even got to Beijing, they were being handed off to Vietnam, I believe. There was an airport in Vietnam that they were supposed to be handed off to, and in that handoff, shit got wonky. They got lost.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if the 7 hours would sway Michael either way. I feel like, to me, it is interesting. It really, it's what went wrong. I think that's part of what is so captivating about the story is we live in this really, really digital age to the point that it's almost inconceivable that there could be a thing that would be gone for 7 hours with no digital trace.
Yeah. So I love that you brought that up, because a lot of the things that I read, and specifically one article that I read, talked a lot about sort of the fact that technological advances makes the birth of conspiracy theory in this way, right? That because we're so reliant on technology, and because we believe so much in our technology, that we cannot fathom the idea that our technology would fail us in this way. And so without an answer, because of our technology all working the way that it does and no ability to find a fucking plane now almost a decade later, they're sitting there and they're like, well, there has to be another answer, i.e. aliens pick that bad boy up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, if I'm putting myself in Michael's shoes, I think he would probably say that the whatever like technology the aliens were employing to begin the abduction process, opening the portal, jamming our sensors, all of this, like that process just takes time. And so those 7 hours were all sort of like prep to the portal opening. And then at the end of that, when the true disappearance occurred, that was like when, wow, we're in another planet.
And the media oversells how quickly getting beamed up actually is. It's really more of a 7-hour process. It's like cooking a brisket.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's like dial-up internet. Takes a long time.
Yo, we could beam them up, but shit, that's like 7 hours. So
it's so loud.
Just watch all of Peaky Blinders while you wait to be abducted by aliens, I guess.
That's it.
So, okay. One of the things that sparks, I guess, this whole alien side of it, right? Because there are a lot of conspiracy theories that get thrown around. People say that the plane was hijacked by passengers. There are people who say the plane was shot down by an enemy country. They said that the plane got lost. And my personal favorite, this is the one that I enjoyed the most, was a person who claimed that she heard the plane was the same color as Vladimir Putin's plane. And I guess his enemies got the two planes confused and subsequently obliterated the fake Vladimir Putin plane instead of the Malaysian airline, or, instead of the real one.
Wow. That's wild. I had not heard that.
Yeah, it was some Australian lady in a video who you could tell she doesn't have a family who respects her very much either. So
sure.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the guys like giving Vladimir his plane? They're like, "What color do you want it?" He's like, "It's the same color as the Malaysian Airlines."
I love those planes. They're so good.
It's like, I studied abroad in Malaysia. It reminds me of that.
The audience can't see it, but you're stroking a beard. And Vladimir Putin is infamously bald-faced. But I love that you're like, nah, he's evil. He strokes a beard.
Only way I can get into character, And it's a pretty mediocre accent, I would say. Let's kind of put on the spot.
I don't know. It was pretty good for me. It was so good that I didn't even attempt my version of it because I was like, nah, he nailed it. I'm not going to compete.
Fair enough.
So the question of aliens, though, I was like, where the fuck do aliens come from all of this? But apparently the alien side of it came out in March 2018, right around the 4-year anniversary of the plane's disappearance. A voicemail surfaced on Twitter. Very reputable site. Very reliable source for any information that you need. Twitter.com. If any of my users are hoping to find real information, please go to Twitter.com, where everyone is kind to each other and telling the truth. But that said, on Twitter, this voicemail pops up that was supposed to have originated from Flight MH370's black box. And this recording went viral, and eventually the voicemail was translated to, and I'm quoting here, "Danger, SOS. It is dire for you to evacuate. Be cautious. They are not human. SOS. Danger, SOS."
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had not heard any of this. This is breaking news to me.
This news from March of 2018 is fucking breaking.
I mean, listen, whether or not you believe, that is bone chilling to hear those words put together. You see why people are connect to it.
Yeah, and even more so they release this voicemail, right, and then they also add a series of numbers which was assumed to be coordinates followed by the message. right? So the website Snopes, who I personally refer to them as hater.com, but Snopes later discovered that this was completely fabricated, right? That this was a completely made up voicemail and had nothing to do with the black box, which was never found for Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. But one of the more fascinating things that I felt about this, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts, is how crazy you have to be to make a fake voicemail for 239 dead people.
Yo. Yeah, that's so crazy. That's like in the same way where we'll never know the answer to, like, if we're saying the aliens did abduct it, like, for what reason or to what end, we'll never know the answer of, like, for what reason and to what end did this person make this voicemail.
Dog,
like, what are you after?
What's your goal?
Did you succeed?
It's not even like you get to be famous from it. Do you know what I mean? If you do a trolley thing, but you get to be the face of the trolley thing, it's not my bag. I'm not a trolley guy, but I get it. You're like, right. I'm going to be a troll. I'm going to make some money off this shit. This is tight. But if you do a trolley thing that you can't even attach yourself to, and it just hurts real families who are desperately hoping to find their lost loved ones. What the fuck, man?
It's so crazy. Yeah, this feels like connected to that. Did you read the one that was the phantom cell phone theory?
No, please tell me about this. This is exciting.
So that was like a theory about this that was floating around, which apparently, like, when the family members of people who were on the flight realized that it was missing, they tried calling them and the phones were like going through, they were ringing, but they weren't getting picked up.
Whoa.
And so people were like, oh, they're in a place where their phones still exist, but they can't answer them.
Whoa.
Like, and I don't know if that is like tied into the aliens or whatever, but yeah, same thing. Eventually, the cell phone company had to be like, no, you can still get a ring back even if the phone has been destroyed or is underwater or whatever. Like,
that's so crazy. Sometimes.
But yeah, just it's such a haunting image of like people like trapped in this sort of like limbo space and their phones ringing, but they can't answer them.
What if they called today and somebody's like, hello?
And this is the plot of Manifest on NBC. Literally.
Are you working on Manifest? What is happening here?
I'm unrelated to Manifest on NBC, but it's a great show.
I'm going to look it up later and you're going to be like an EP on it.
Yeah.
Just pushing Manifest. You were so worried I wasn't going to give you a chance to plug at the end that you were just like, I gotta slip my plugs in right in the middle.
That's it.
So one of the things that also people point to, I guess, in terms of the reason that this conspiracy theory took off the way that it did and became as sort of like hauntingly, widespread in the way that it did, was the 24-hour news cycle. Specifically, CNN they blame for this specific conspiracy theory. So Malaysian airline goes missing. CNN, like through, I guess, a series of polls, decides that this is like the most popular thing that they could be talking about during this time. And so they go on like this super push to like sell Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. And so they're doing everything they can to like make people keep watching about this missing airline, even though at this point, and this is weeks and weeks on end, right? At this point, these governments are needing to come together to search more than 150 square kilometers of water to be able to potentially find where they think this plane might be. Yeah. So they know they're not going to find anything. They know they have zero answers to offer a public, but because it's the 24-hour news cycle, they keep pretending like there's more information coming down the pipeline. And as the audience started to realize that started to feel at least that the people with answers were failing them, they started to fill in answers themselves, hence aliens and Vladimir Putin.
Interesting. All right. So this media landscape has fostered these theories.
It ain't helping, I think, is a great interpretation of this. Even if you don't want to blame Jake Tapper personally, he definitely didn't he didn't fucking
100%.
nail it during this time.
I remember when you were saying that, I was like flashing to the Trump tax returns. Like, do you remember when Rachel Maddow got Trump's tax returns and it was like all this redacted shit and it was just, like totally normal, but they just built it up for days that this was like the bombshell that was coming.
That was fucking crazy. She's like holding up papers being like, he wrote off all his sandwiches. He's treating lunch like a business expense.
Yeah. And you're like, who fucking cares? Yeah, I get that. I mean, I totally like, as a person who had that reaction to the Trump stuff, I was like, I could see if you were like really invested in the Malaysian Airlines flight and they keep letting you down with the conclusions. I might be out there trying to write my own ending.
No, you got to write.
A writer on Manifest on NBC.
Now we're getting to the truth.
What?
But yeah, no, I think we as humans are naturally curious and sort of like want answers, want sort of like a completion of all stories. I think that's sort of like an instinct of the human experience. And with that, this is a story that could not complete itself for various reasons. And so the easiest thing to do would be to complete it on our own rather than allowing, the fear to overcome us.
Yeah. Totally. Nobody wants blue balls with a story,
I like that.
The end. Tagline for the show.
I like that. You got to put that on your resume.
Yeah.
Nobody wants blue balls, ... with a story.
Question mark? Oh, man.
So one of the things that this also got me thinking about is how many other documented plane disappearances actually have happened throughout history. And as it turns out, there's been a ton of them. In fact, there's even been 12 of them documented since 2001, right?
Wow.
There's 12 documented disappearances of planes. Now, some of those documented disappearances, like pieces of the planes have shown up in a way that like they do know it was obliterated. It no longer is a disappearance as much as just that plane blew up. That said, there are a few where like they truly still don't know what happened. However, all of that being true, these planes, the other planes excluding Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, were manned by no more than 8 people, and most of which had only like 1 or 2 folks on them. So this is a big deal that a plane with 239 versus 2 is disappearing from the sky.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's frankly, I think, impossible. It's not normal, let's say.
Yeah. We don't have to get to it yet, but do you have an opinion on what occurred?
I think that there is probably a very high chance that some sort of like international incident transpired. My feeling is that like they did some fuck shit to this plane, and enough governments are attempting to cover it up because of the international implications of something like that. That said, I don't think that they intentionally are hiding the pieces of the plane as much as like it got blown out of the sky in a way that like when they do find stuff, it ain't good. And if we show it to you, this is going to get ugly kind of thing.
Yeah. It does seem crazy that like, I don't disagree that seems like a viable path, but it's like, it feels nuts that, let's say they were like, oh, a 9/11-esque thing is about to occur with this plane. Russia, the US, China, whoever is like, we got to blow this motherfucker out of the air. But then for even like no debris to exist, like for all of those major world powers to coordinate in such a way that nobody was like, yo, but I did find the tail fin and like here it is on eBay or whatever. Like it's so crazy.
We found a bunch of those little cups that they give you when they fill you up with Sprite.
I found a Seagram's ginger ale that is Malaysian only. You know where it came from.
Yeah, no, it's odd in a way that makes me feel like it had to be something more substantial than just crashing. But again,
Right.
searching that amount of territory, specifically in such a uncharted area, like I think
Yeah.
that's an important factor here that a lot of people don't consider is that like the world don't really fuck with the Indian Ocean like that. We
Hmm.
don't know a lot about it, and they don't really know how to find stuff there already. And then
Yeah.
this plane went down in a way that they truly lost track of everything. So
Yes.
it's tough.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Not to further the white savior narrative, but do you think Sully could have saved the day?
Oh, 100% Sully would have
Me
saved this
too.
plane.
Me too.
You gotta
I think he
believe in
would have
Sully.
done it. Sully is our king.
Is the only white savior that I believe in is
That's it.
Sully Sullenberger.
He's a true, genuine white savior. Like
He did it.
that's
He
pretty
fucking
amazing.
did it. When everybody else was failing us, he fucking did it. And then he shut the fuck up about it.
That's it.
He did it, and then he just went, and he's not like going and doing sweet like kick flips with new planes. He's like, he's just chilling. I fucking like that guy.
Hell yeah.
That said, if his politics are shitty, I do not
I
hold
was
me accountable
just gonna say,
for
he feels like
anything
the kind of celebrity that Trump would be like, yo, I'm friends with him.
right. He's just at Mar-a-Lago next week and just saying something mean to a Mexican man on camera, and we're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, Sully. Okay, here's the last thing that I'll tell you before we go to break is that the last thing that I wanted to look up, given the fact that airplanes do disappear, is there any documented evidence of other planes being stolen by aliens? And specifically, I read this story about this Australian pilot, Frederick Valentix. I'm not sure how to say the name, but while flying on October 21st, 1978, en route to King Island on a 130-mile nautical trip, he basically calls into Air Flight Services saying that he has an unidentified flying object maneuvering around him. And specifically the voice or the communication says that he said, seems to be a large aircraft below 5,000, just passed over me at least 1,000 feet above. He was at 4,500 feet. It's approaching right now from due east towards me. It seems to me that he's playing some sort of game.
Chilling.
Pretty haunting. Now, here's where it
Really?
gets even odder. Is he sends this, and then the transmission gets crazier because he complains that the other aircraft was sort of like approaching him. Then he says it gets completely stationary. Next, he says it's orbiting above him, and then he reported a rough-sounding engine, and the transmission was lost, ending with a loud metallic noise, and he was never heard from, nor was the plane ever found again.
Whoa. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Now, that said, a lot of people point to the fact that that this dude was a alien like fanatic well before he went into the air, and so very well could just be like a weirdo who crashed his plane because he's nuts. They also point to the fact that they think he might have faked his own death. But either way, there's a real possibility this dude got abducted by aliens, and we have it documented in some version of 1978 voicemail.
It seems like in that world, he's probably thrilled about that, right? Like if he's already pro-alien and then it gets confirmed and they're like, that's the one we want. Like, he's like, fuck yeah, beam me up, you know?
He's like, fellas, it's happening. It's me.
This is what I've been wanting. And then he just,
oh, Frederick, finally right.
I hope they say my last name right.
They told me I was crazy, but Freddie's finally right about something. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Zeke Nicholson and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
Oh my God! Wow! Oh my God!
Yeah, we're back here with more Zeke Nicholson, more My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about the possibility that Malaysian Airline 370 was snatched out of the sky by some little green motherfuckers or tall gray motherfuckers. Who knows what kind of aliens they were? We do know they love stealing Malaysians. I think that's safe to say.
Oh, wait, sorry. Side note, though. Did you read that there were significantly more Chinese people on the plane than any other race? I thought that was very interesting. I think it was like a lot of Chinese people who had been traveling to Malaysia and were returning home.
And see, that actually makes me feel stronger about this being a potential international incident because China ain't nothing to play with. You know what I mean? You can't fuck around and just kill 200 and let's say 10 Chinese people and expect them to like go, without answering some sort of response.
Sure.
You're like, I ain't digging too far into that nonsense.
No, I agree with you.
Okay, let's play a game. This is a fun game, a classic game on this show. It's a classic game called White Lies.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
White Lies. Zeke, this is an easy game where I am going to introduce to you a classic white conspiracy theory, a conspiracy theory that seems to be relatively popular in the white community. And what I would love for you to do is just break down for me why you think this conspiracy theory seems to be so popular in the white community. What are white people holding on to with this bad boy?
Perfect.
Hell yeah. So this is a fun one. And it's alien related. I wanted to make sure we stayed on theme for this episode. But have you ever heard of the Black Knight satellite?
No.
So apparently there's something called the Black Knight satellite, which many conspiracy theorists are nervous about because it's this space object. It's not, I won't decide that, but it is a space object that is basically known amongst conspiracy theorists, and some believe is an alien spacecraft circling the Earth. And NASA has had to address it. It's become so popular that they had to come out and say, no, it's just a piece of space junk. There's no reason to be afraid of this. It has nothing to do with aliens. We know exactly what it is. But a lot of people maintain that it is an alien spacecraft called the Black Knight satellite. My question for you is, what's going on there? What are white people so focused on here?
I mean, from jump, it's got the word black in the title. There's a bit of white fright there. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, honestly, like as you were explaining it to me, I feel like there is in the sort of like dominant white culture, like this general fear of other people taking what they've got. And I feel like obviously that applies to minorities of all different types. But I do think weirdly that same type of thinking applies to this like abstract quote unquote evil of like aliens coming for our shit. Like I think so much of like the American ideal is like founded on like, I'm on my porch, motherfucker. And like, don't you like, I'm gonna protect my shit. And like, but I feel like the other half of that is like, there's always a threat that is imminent. And I feel like the idea of like, there's a satellite right now above us, just waiting for the right moment to strike. I've got to get my guns. I've got to like protect my house and my friends and my community. Like it all feels like it feels like a logical extension of so many of those points of view that are like, exhibited in slightly more grounded ways regularly.
Yeah, that's all right. I like that.
That's called motherfucking bars, nigga. You know nothing about that.
You nailed that. That's a good answer. I do think that so much of the culture of the way humans, and specifically white humans on this planet as sort of like the lead conquerors of today, see things is that something is coming to take the things that they've conquered away from them.
Yeah.
And there's no evidence whatsoever that aliens, if they could travel to us, have a need for what we have. But there is this constant instinct still on the side of white people and the powers that be to be like, I bet they want our shit. And that's fucking crazy. Like, I do actually believe that aliens exist. I do actually believe that there's some possibility that they visited this planet or at least have like come into contact with certain people, but I don't think they need us. In fact, I think they think we're fucking losers. But white people often do not think that way, and that's crazy to me.
Yes. There's like a weird narcissism that is connected to white supremacy. It's like, and it makes sense. It's like the whole idea is founded on this like central pillar of like, this is the most important thing that exists. Like my existence trumps all else.
Yeah.
And I feel like, that is like applied sort of like at large when you're like, those motherfucking aliens want my cattle ranch. And it's like,
we should have a space force to prepare.
Yeah. And the irony is, when those motherfucking aliens do come, we gonna need Will Smith and the crew to save us, all right? You think it's not gonna be a bunch of black people on that fucking Space Force?
I think that's why Will Smith's getting back in shape. I think that's why he's doing all that jogging, is because he knows
he got the early celebrity memo that the aliens are inbound.
Oh, Donnie gave him a call. He's like, Will, we need you. I'm putting all my racist efforts behind. I need the classic Will Smith. You got to get ready.
That's it. He's like, let me see if the flight suit still fits. He's in his closet.
He's like, nope. Jada, I'm jogging. Stop cheating on me. I got to go jog.
Hell yeah.
Well, Zeke, we did it. This was a lovely time. I love this so much. Could you tell the people at home where they could find you and what cool shit you have going on?
You know, I am not on social media in any way anymore.
Ooh, very brave.
Because I don't want the aliens coming after me. But yeah, you could check out AP Bio. It's on Peacock. You could watch Miracle Workers is on HBO Max. I worked on that show as well.
Hell yeah.
And keep an eye out for stuff I might be involved in.
Yeah, keep an eye out. But don't check social media for that eye.
Don't check social.
He won't be there.
Don't send me all the fucking bullshit if you think we got something wrong. I don't care. I don't care.
Good luck finding him, bitch. He ain't out there. That said, please go watch AP Bio and Miracle Workers. They're both very funny shows. And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman on all social media platforms. I'll never leave you on those websites. I'm too desperate. And please, you can subscribe, follow the podcast, write reviews, hurtful or kind. I don't care. And send any theories you may have to mymommapod@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Okay, that's everything. Bye, bitch.